Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy Thursday. Nope, it's Wednesday. Nothing is more unsettling with the fact that how unhappy I am whenever I realize that today is only Wednesday and not Thursday. But at least it's halfway through the week. So at least that's something to be happy about, right guys? So I just wanted to apologize of how long this video has taken me to upload. I really wasn't feeling all too good last week, and whenever I'm like that, it doesn't take, well, it takes a lot for me to want to do my makeup when I'm not feeling good. So I just said, screw it, I'm just not going to upload anything. And besides, like with this today's story, like I went through a deep dive in this one that I feel like I could talk about this forever, because the more I did research about this story, the more like cool, interesting things I found about, which is like, whoa. But that's besides the point. So hi again. I'm sure you guys are new here to my channel. So let me introduce myself. My name is Kelly, and I love to talk about all things spooky, ooky, goopy shit. So with that being said, I like to talk about ghosts, haunted places, of course, urban legends, unsolved mysteries, and yes, even thriller books. So if that is something that would potentially pique your interest, I would say go ahead and subscribe to my channel and grab a snack, grab some wine. I had my coffee here because Lord knows I need it. And let's get started on today's video, shall we? So it is, well, I'm sure you know what we're going to be talking about today. It is the infamous Queen Mary. It is the top, well, it was the top 10 haunted places by Times Magazine, and rightfully so, because just off of the things I found out about this ship, I was like, holy guacamole, I had no idea. But pretty much it was, it started in, well, it was a British ocean liner in 1934, and which I'm like, oh, I had no idea about that. I didn't know it was that early on. I thought it was like in like the 40s or 50s for some reason, but again, who cares? So about 3 years or so, it carried passengers in the Atlantic Sea until World War II. I'm surprised I said that correctly the first try, because that's always been a struggle for me to say, which again, I know no one cares. But she was repainted and then given the name the Grey Ghost, which, as you can guess why, she was painted gray. And she was used for that time as a transport for Allied soldiers until 1942, she did collide with another ship called the HMS Coro. So I can't pronounce that, so I'm just going to say HMS. So unfortunately, which also too, the HMS was also a ship used to transport Allied soldiers as well. So during this collision of the two ships, about 337 lives were lost that day at sea. So I'm like, oh crap, like that's really sad, but which is really strange, because when I was doing research of like the hauntedness of this ship, I didn't really any kind of stories that like pinged back to the collision, which I found really strange, because mostly all of like the hauntings came from like workers of the ship, which I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But after World War II, in 1947, she went to complete about 1,001 voyages across the Atlantic Ocean. So AKA homegirl was busy. She was hustling, okay? Until the final passage in 1967, I think, where she is at her forever home in Long Beach, California. And I guess this is where all of like the ghost stories and stories have kind of just taken place due to the workers on the ship and also the guests and the visitors too that come aboard the Queen Mary to kind of take a look at, see what's up with her and everything. So one of the first stories I read was unfortunately about a young girl named Jacqueline Torin, I believe her last name, also known as Jackie. She unfortunately lost her life only at the age of 5 years old due to she drowned in the pool on the ship. And visitors have said if you're around that area of the pool, you can hear a little girl calling from her parents, which I'm like, that's extremely sad, because as a mother myself, I couldn't imagine losing my child at any age, but given the age of only 5 years old, like, you're at that age, like, you're just starting to like know about life and, you know, wanting to like learn more, I feel like. So that's very tragic. But that was kind of the basic things about her that I could find. It was kind of like, oh, she drowned, that's it, kind of thing. But also, John Harry passed away. He was a worker on the ship. His body was found in the boiler room on the ship. Not much was said to how he had died, but many can speculate that he just died of like natural causes. But also there has been disembodied like footsteps, noises that actually come from that room, with like machinery kind of going off, and like bangs and loud noises come from that room too. Also another worker that had passed away at a young age of 18-year-old, Mr. John Petter. Now I'm just kind of like, when I read the story, I'm like, really, John? You could have gotten your shit together, you would still be alive. Like, not now, but like back in the day. He was being a typical teenager boy. Y'all do some stupid ass shit, by the way. But he was also known as Half Hatch Harry, which I don't know where the Harry part comes along when his name literally is not Harry. It's legit John. So that's a plot twist in itself. But in 1966, during a drill routine, he was playing a game of chicken. Now, he was trying to run through a watertight sealed door before it closed. Now, if you've seen Titanic, or if you've been on any kind of ship, more so with the Queen Mary, you have seen these like big ass, metal heavy ass doors. He thought it would be a good idea to like run through the opening of these doors before they close. Unfortunately, as you can guess, he did not make it through. He was crushed. So, if you are by the door 13 to be exact, whenever he was playing this chicken game, he likes to chase people, from the stories that I read online, and he's by that door. He kind of hovers by that door. And so he was a trickster in his life whenever he was alive, and nothing has changed. He's still a jokester and a prankster in the afterlife too, which I guess is good, because what else could you possibly be doing when you're dead besides having fun? I mean, shit. I know I would be having fun if when I die and I didn't, find peace and whatever. But you get the story again. So we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive into something more sinister that had happened on the ship. A family was murdered in the room B474. Unfortunately, the cold-blooded killer, the father, I should say, he had strangled his wife and also shot his young daughter, Dana, I believe. I couldn't really find how old she was whenever she had passed, but I know she was like a young girl, maybe like a preteen. I'm not really too sure, but visitors and also workers have talked about her. She kind of hovers over that in the room, outside the room, kind of on that hallway too. I guess her footsteps can be heard. Not much about like her, about like her talking or just things like that, but just loud noises that come around that area too. Also, something really sinister has happened here on this ship, which when I read the story, according to like different websites, it was actually like, I think the most infamous story about the ship that when you talk about the Queen Mary, the story that I'm about to tell you guys is something that like no one just like breezes over. Like it is talked about. And I'm talking about room B340. In the 1960s, and a guest on the ship, he was a man. I didn't get his name because the two sources that I went to didn't have his name, which I'm like, that's kind of weird, but okay, I'll go with it. But he had brutally murdered two women in this exact room for unknown reasons, which I'm kind of like, okay, this guy like went off the fucking deep end, man, like shit. But while waiting for police, he was, I guess, locked into the room, and there was a man outside the room. He was a guard to make sure that nothing has happened, or make sure that the guy in the room that murdered these two women, he didn't try to escape or kind of any kind of funny business too. But the guard outside the room suddenly had heard screaming from the man inside of the room, screaming, saying how someone is in here trying to kill me. Now, rightfully so, the guard was like, nope, you're bullshitting. There's no one in the room with you, buddy. Chill out, you know, take a chill pill, take a nap or something. But when the authorities arrived and the guard and everyone went into the room, they found the man dead. And a lot it's kind of been an unsolved mystery. No one can really kind of gather the information to what happened to this man. But just based off of how his body was found, and I'll save you like the gory details of what happened to him, but just based off of the body wounds that were found on him, there was no way that this man could inflict all of these injuries to him himself. So people were like, what the hell? Like, what happened? And I'm like, I think I know. I think the only reasonable thing that could possibly like happen to him was the two women were in their room still, okay? They came back, like they kind of like, often they died, obviously, but like their spirits came back and killed his ass. I would too. Like if I was killed by someone and I was in the room with them, baby, you're gonna get killed too. The exact same way that you kill my ass, I'm gonna kill your ass. But that's what I think. Whether or not that's true or not, I have no idea, unless maybe someone else killed him that was in the, I don't know, but I don't think they had like adjoining doors, but that's besides the point. But the room is so popular, it's so popular that people want to stay there. They, I guess, supposedly bumped up the cost of the room for like $500 a night. So if you can afford that and if you want to stay there for $500 a night, I say go for it. Whatever your little spooky heart desires, right? I don't know if I would stay there. I think I would want to, and then like, no, I think I would have like the balls first. Like, yeah, man, you know, yeah, I'll pay for it. And then I get there, like, oh shit. No. But it is said that whenever you walk into the room, it kind of gets very like eerie, dark, sinister. Like, you know something bad has happened there, but like you don't know what it is unless you know the story. But if you don't know the story about the room, like the history and everything like that, you'll kind of walk in and you'll be like, oh shit, I don't like this room, and like dip out, because I probably would be. I don't know though, we'll see. But the more and more popular the Queen Mary has gotten over the years, it's said to be like, well, it's not really expensive to like stay there for the hotel, I don't think, because I actually went on the Queen Mary's website just to kind of see what it was all about. And the standard room kind of goes for like $189. All depends on like when you want to check in. I think the more like the weekends is more expensive. But to get $189, which at first I'm like, holy shit, that's really expensive. But then again, I'm cheap. But then again, if you think about it, it's like, well, that's not really too off from like a typical hotel room, right? If you want to stay at a decent place, right? I mean, that's what I would think. But I don't know. I don't really get out much, but that's what I would think anyways. But I know, like, I read somewhere in like 2016 or 2018, like the Queen Mary alone made like $14 million based off of like people visiting there for ghost tours and for hotels. So I'm like, oh shit, that's a lot of money. So, but despite how it may be, if you're into paranormal or not, if you believe in it, it has captured a lot of attention. So you really can't deny it that like shit has happened on that ship, whether it's just like oh, someone died of like a heart attack or someone got murdered. Like it is a very capturing story, but oh my god, how can all this like crazy stuff happen on a ship, right? Because whenever you think of a ship, like a cruise, like, oh, I'm gonna stay here, you don't think of like, oh, I'm gonna get murdered. You just think like, oh, it's gonna be a nice like vacation, and then you die and you're like, oh nope, just kidding, I'm dead, I'm a ghost here now. That's just crazy to me, but just besides the point. But I had no idea too, during the Halloween season, the ship is actually transformed into a Halloween kind of ordeal. They have live music there. They have like a scare maze there too. They also have a theatrical seance there as well, which that kind of like piqued my interest, to be honest, because I'm like, what is that? And I want to get on that, boat to kind of see what's up with that. But then again, I live on the East Coast, and to travel to the West Coast, y'all, I did it one time before, and no, it's too much of a long trip for me. But to kind of conclude the story, have you guys been on the Queen Mary? Do you guys know someone that has been in the Queen Mary? Is it cool? Is it not cool? Is it just all hyped up like a lot of things are? But the more I think about it, I don't think this is hyped up, because there's been hundreds of stories with like the same stories about particular locations of a ship. And I'm like, how can so many people lie about the same crap? So I'm just interested to hear if you guys have been there, if you have any kind of cool stories about it. I'd love to know, so make sure to comment down below. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I know I was all over the place today because I'm really tired, and I don't know if I repeated myself 10 times or not, and I know I talk fast, but that's just me, baby, okay? But thank you guys so much again for liking my stuff, for subscribing. It really does mean a lot to me. And on that note, I will see you guys all in my next video. If you have any kind of suggestions, drop them down below. And for that, I will say goodbye. Bye.